Good evening, John.
It's an interesting story of yours. At 10, you had the entrepreneurial bug. Tell me what you did at 10.
Oh, well, I guess my dad had his own business when I was a very young boy, and that entrepreneurial spirit I have inherited from my dad. And at the age of 10, the war broke out in Lebanon.
Yes.
And
You were in Lebanon at the time, of course, as a little boy.
that's right.
Yes.
Yes, I was born in a refugee camp.
Yeah.
And when the war broke out, everyone stopped working and there was no work whatsoever. And I noticed all the adults were just sitting and playing cards. And my dad had a business where he served espresso with a mobile van and sandwiches, and also serving refreshments and oranges.
Yes.
So when I saw all the adults sitting and doing nothing, I wanted to do something, and I probably by nature I don't give in to circumstances. And it's like I read a nice quote for Zig Ziglar. You cannot tailor-make your situation in life, but you can tailor-make your attitude to fit those situations. And I've learned from a very young age that attitude is the most important thing. And it's easy for people to shout and say, I am a victim. But I refuse to see the situation as is, and I chose to actually design my own destiny.
Well, it wasn't easy for you in the beginning, was it? Tell us about some of the problems you encountered while in Lebanon, particularly on a personal level.
Well, on a personal level, I actually born in a refugee camp, and then losing my own dad at the age of 11.
Yes.
And getting beaten almost to death, and getting injured in the war, almost losing an arm. I had a very, very painful history, but despite those setbacks and despite my situation living in a camp, I chose to create my own destiny by starting my own business. And I had my two cousins, and we, from scrap metal and from scrap timber, we created our own cart. And I borrowed the manual juicer from my dad, and we went and bought oranges and started going to army barracks and selling freshly squeezed oranges.
Is this after your father had been murdered?
No, before. It's when I saw everyone
sitting around
doing nothing.
Yes.
I just chose to actually to do this, and when I did this, it was extremely successful. And then the whole camp, all the kids in the area, started copying us and started selling refreshments and started selling the Lebanese pizzas on carts. And when my dad saw our success, and many of the adults, they chose to actually start to open their own business. And as a result, my dad opened a fruit shop on the curb outside the camp, and he became successful as well. So that little small tale shows you that even a little kid can inspire a small tiny economy, which is my actual camp that I used to live in, by not accepting the status quo and choosing to have a positive attitude towards life and not to scream and shout and say I am a victim.
Now, obviously, after the events that followed, with your father being murdered and you getting into all sorts of situations, you decided you'd flee the civil war in Lebanon, and you came to Australia. When did you first come to Australia, and did you come as a refugee?
Can I just take you back in history a little bit before I mention? Basically, my dad was murdered when I was 11.
Yep.
And then I had a very harsh life. We ended up splitting into three groups. I went to an orphanage with my brother, and my two other little sisters went to another orphanage. And the two adult sisters and my mom had to obviously work and provide the little they could. And, over the years, obviously I couldn't continue my education. I left school, and I was a laborer for a number of years without any schooling or anything like that. I got granted a hardship visa to come to Australia, and that was the biggest breakthrough in my life. And I chose to turn my situation from misery and into basically heaven. I look at Australia as if I've moved from hell to heaven. And with that sort of attitude, I swore that the moment I arrive into Australia, I am going to make something out of my life. And that's why I honestly believe that everything is born twice. Once it's born in the head, and once it's born in the physical world. So I started, basically, I began with the end in mind. I wanted to be successful. I had the right attitude. And because that successful idea was in my head, it was born the first time, and the second time I made it in the real world.
So you brought you came out here with your whole family?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. I came with not everyone, but because my other sisters, some of them were married, but I did come with my brother and sister and mom.
Were you schooled here?
No, I couldn't get schooling here because I was too old, but thankfully Australia is a land of giving and gives people all the opportunities in the world. And I want to take this moment to thank Australia for everything they have done for me as a person. And I hope one day I can pay back as much as I could to this beautiful country. Because it's a land of opportunity, it's a land of fairness, decency, and I honestly saw all the support in the world. And I didn't go to school, but I went to college, and I had private tutoring. I had all the resources available to me to turn my situation around.
Well, you went to university, obviously, and studied tertiary education there, got a Bachelor of Commerce. That was a feat because, obviously, as you say, you came here and I take it you'd had little or no schooling prior to arriving in Australia. Would that be correct?
That's correct. I had very little schooling. I was out of school for about 4 years. I could hardly speak any English. But I persevered, and I chose to do my high school as a mature age student. And there was a special scheme which the universities give you opportunity to go to university even though you haven't gone through the schooling. And I did. I did have a lot of hardship through the university years. It took me 12 years to really finish a 3-year course, but I never gave up. And I persevered until I graduated.
Yeah.
I had two kids on my arms when I graduated, so it's a sense of achievement. It was the greatest achievement ever for me at that stage.
And of course, we bring you to the present day now. You've got a very, very successful business, which we will talk about. But your business, where did you get the idea? You're the CEO and the founding franchisor of Looksmart, which is a clothing alteration business in Sydney. Am I correct in describing it that way?
Yeah, it is actually. It's all over Australia. We've got branches throughout Australia and 18 branches in New Zealand, yes.
Okay, where did you get the idea for that?
Well, look, the idea is I've always wanted to have my own business. And I've started a couple of ventures. They were successful, but the relationships weren't. And I had my brother-in-law was a fantastic tailor who is great in this field, and I learned the business from my brother-in-law. And but I obviously started my own business. He helped me initially, but because I'm ambitious, I didn't settle for one branch, and we started with 1, and then 3, and then 10, and then so on and so forth.
Now you have over 100 franchisees, and you've got a turnover in excess of $28 million a year. So I suppose you're at that end now, but to get to where you are, there must have been a lot of setbacks. There must have been a lot of difficulty. Can you share some of the problems you've encountered
Absolutely.
through the years?
When I first started, basically, I didn't have any money because I lost some money on a venture because the relationships failed. And then, luckily, in our culture, when you get married, normally you get setbacks financially quite a bit. But in my case, we get cash gifts when you get married.
Yes.
So I ended up having about $4,000, and with that little money, I started my business, and I called it Citywide because I thought I want to basically have a dominance in the city, and I called it Citywide. I never dreamt that it's going to be so big, and I'm going to be all over Australia and soon to be around the world. So started with $4,000, obviously started again. Everything is scrap. Everything is built by hand. Everything is from auctions and secondhand, and you name it. But basically because I delivered everything the fashion stores wanted, and I did market research, and I exceeded their expectations, I became successful. But I remember the first week that I hired the tailor, I gave him my word that he will be extremely happy and he will make a very nice living if he trusted me, and he did. And the first week I remember paying him by I was counting coins, 10 cents and 20 cents to make his wages because I didn't have any money at that stage. So it's a very humble beginning.
How long have you been? How long have you been in business?
I've been about 16 years now.
With this company, Looksmart?
Well, yeah, it was called before we rebranded. It used to be called Citywide,
right? And
we became very successful at the beginning. And all of a sudden, I had some setbacks, serious setbacks, when my tailors learned all the secrets of my business, and because I was so fanatic about customer service, I used to send my tailors to do tailor fittings at the fashion stores. So they got the connections, and eventually they managed to copy everything I had, and at half of the prices that I used to charge. So that was a major setback, but I didn't give up at that point. I started losing share and everything, and then I started thinking outside the square, and I decided to open in shopping centers at that point so that I create first mover advantage and I create some sort of barriers to entry, because opening in shopping centers, tailors needed about $150,000 to $100,000 to open in the centers.
Yes.
And that's why I started opening in those shopping centers. I recall the first shopping center I opened in was in Chatswood Chase, but they would not buy my vision. And I said, look, I will make it. I'll make a difference. I'll help the fashion stores increase their sales, etc. But they wouldn't buy my vision. And but with my perseverance, my first shop actually started in Chatswood Chase. And I convinced them to convert the toilets into a shop.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very humble beginnings. You know, they would never put me in a shop. But after 10 years or so, 15 years, the start in Chatswood Chase, I have a massive shop now next to Versace, which is it's an arm of Versace. So, it shows that when you're determined and when you believe in your concept and you never give up, you could have very humble beginnings.
Yes.
And then you will end up being next to Versace. That's a great achievement for us.
Most certainly it is. Now, how many, in terms of company shops, how many company shops do you run and how many franchised operations do you have?
We've got about 97 stores at the moment.
Yes.
And about 20% of them are company-owned stores.
Okay. And
the rest are franchised.
Okay. For the ones that you franchised, what's your key to success in attracting the right franchisee for your business model?
Well, basically, we look for attitude before skills. It's like I read a saying, I hope I say it right. You put the right people in the bus, and you get the wrong people off the bus, and you put the right people in the right seat. So they have to basically have the right cultural fit. They have to have the positive attitude, and I believe in a philosophy where if you put your people first, sales and profits will follow. So I tend to put my franchisees as number one. Every decision I make is related to my franchisees. Is this going to make them better off? And if the answer is yes, we just make that investment. So by putting my people first, obviously my franchisees have become successful.
Are you you mentioned you're Australia-wide, so tell me the areas you're in outside of Sydney.
We're basically in all Australian states.
Okay. What a great story. And obviously you live by the motto that you don't allow your past circumstances or hardships or anything to stand in your way. You pull yourself up and you dusted yourself up and you got going and got on with life, basically, no matter how many setbacks you have.
Absolutely. Look, the most important thing about any business is to dream. But let me tell you one thing. I did have a dream, but I honestly believe that dreams without passion is like driving a car without fuel. You do have to have a dream, but you have to have the passion for your dreams, because passion is what makes you who you are and gives you the perseverance and the determination to get to where you want to get.
Well, it's a great story, Abraham. From coming here with really virtually, and I mean this most respectfully, no education, to getting in there and studying and getting yourself a degree, and now you've got a company with 100 franchises, $28 million a year turnover. That's a pretty good story. Thank you for sharing it with us tonight.
Absolutely. I'd like to end with this saying, if you don't mind. Winston Churchill once said, "We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give." And I would love to give back to Australia for what they've done for me.
Well said. We probably should ask about your website too.
It's Looksmart Alterations.net.au.
Abraham, wonderful to chat to you, and I hope we see you in Brisbane. We can do it face-to-face one day.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time.